Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought another fantastic group of indie comic professionals to talk about nothing less than Cthulhu and Neverland. So here we go. So without further ado, let me introduce, and please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video. And here's this guy, because, you know, he's always here.
Yes! What is up, Streamland? I'm JD Rosario from Unstoppable Comics. Been publishing comic books for over 16 years, and tonight we're going to be hanging out with a few creators who are using more than just their 2 cents to put their money where their mouth is. How you like that? You like that?
Very nice, very nice. I like the fact that you're wearing a collar tonight.
You like? I try to be professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
no tie.
Well, look, I'm wearing.
We're cool.
Look, I'm wearing Oswald. There you go.
That's all. I saw mushrooms. I didn't see Oswald.
Well, you saw
mushrooms. You got to pick it up higher. Oh, okay. Now I see it.
There you go.
All right,
I try to wear Oswald to the show. And our co-host, you know, and the man of the 2 hours.
Hey, did you say we had to do mushrooms for the show? I've never had. I don't know if they're up.
Be careful with
that. Is that what you said? I don't understand what we're supposed
to
be doing.
It usually helps. That's all.
Okay. All right, fair.
Holy shit. Right. What are you doing at your house?
Get us today, and we'll see what happens.
There you go. Very nice. But Travis, please introduce yourself, sir.
I am Travis Gibb, creator of this anthology, Cthulhu Invades Neverland, but also creator of Granite State Pung, Coins of Judas, Voodoo Nations, Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies, Holiday Spirits, Expired, all sorts of crazy shenanigans. Been doing this for quite a bit. Since 2007, but you know, making books, doing things.
Yeah,
doing the thing.
Way to be.
Like it.
Way to be.
All right. And we have on next. How you doing, Steph? Please introduce yourself.
I am Steph Cannon. I am one half of In Symmetry Creations alongside Matt Knowles, who is currently breaking down a booth from a show in New Orleans, Louisiana. MightyCon, I believe is what it's called. We've got so much stuff going on that it's hard to keep track. But we are here to talk about our story that is in Cthulhu Invades Neverland called Lost Girl. We're really excited about it. The artists were amazing, CR and Sean Baggs. So we're excited to talk about that. And if there's time, we're going to talk about our upcoming Kickstarter that we have going on as well.
All right. Very nice.
What's going on? Dude, mushrooms were supposed to be for Wonderland, so you're late.
Oh.
Yeah, you're late. Sorry, dude.
I'll be right back. I go do some mushrooms because that's part of it.
Yeah, I heard mushrooms and 2 hour show, and I'm like, you give me mushrooms, you can have a 6 hour show. I'll be fine.
Nice.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm Chuck Pineau. I'm a writer and editor. You might know me from such things as Belial, Welcome to the Void, and Chronicles of the Essence Guard, as well as having edited tons and tons of other works.
Nice.
Very nice.
Hello.
Mr. Fish.
Absolutely. I am Mr. Fish from Mr. Fish Comics. I'm the fastest working man in Indy Comics. I am halfway through my 68th book I've worked on in the last almost 6 years. Chuck was the editor on my Green Zone book, which just hit like issue 3, and the source book is out. And I'm excited to get to work with Travis on Neverland. I'm stoked about this, baby. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. We have one more guest. He's going to be silent for a little while because he's dealing with some issues. So he'll be in later.
He'll be in there later. I got one question before you
deal with that guy.
I got one question before everything starts tonight, and it's specifically for Fish, specifically for the blue background theme. You know, Fish is. I mean, there's some synergy going on over there. You know, is it on purpose or what's up? Man?
Everything I can do, man. Whatever I can do to stand out. Actually, the colored lights in the background make the lights in here that are filling in the wrinkles in my face come out much better. So that's the purpose. Takes about 30 years off this month.
Oh, we're always learning. I know what I got to do from now on, man.
I got to do a show.
This is better than a TikTok filter, man. Like, I look 80 years old without these lights in front of me.
I got to do a show with Fish, and if he pulls back that beard a little bit, you can actually see the gills. So yeah, he's not screwing around. He's going all Fish. Like he's very serious about it. Yeah.
That's why I grow it so long. It freaks people out.
Full Monty all the way, baby.
Oh yeah. Go big or go home.
Nice.
Why do you think I'm drinking all the time on the shows, man? It's dehydrated staying out of the water this long. Jeez.
What's up, Frank? How you doing? Introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Frank Martin. I write comics, and I'm currently in a room that smells like dog vomit.
Aren't we all, really?
Yeah. Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
Literally.
An existential dog vomit stench.
Those mushrooms kicked in fast for Frank.
Well, that's what happens when you snort them.
At least your dog has the decency to do it in the waking hours. Our cats just wait till 3 a.m. fast asleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
the witching vomit hour.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't feel enough Jack inside of this cup tonight. That's
Nice. All right. So listen, guys, and lady, we're all here to discuss Cthulhu Invades Neverland. I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu fan, so I'm going to ask this question first. What was your first experience with H.P. Lovecraft? What was your first experience? Was it a film, book, story, which short story, so on and so forth? You know, let's go from there. Let's start with Frank.
Oh, damn, right off the bat. I kind of peripherally, that's the right word, liked H.P. Lovecraft, but I never actually dove headfirst into his stuff. And then after I graduated college, I got one of those collection of short stories, and I plowed through it. And it didn't have a whole lot of the Cthulhu mythos in it. It was kind of all of his other works. So I grew up liking those first. And the first one that really stood out to me was The Statement of Randolph Carter. If anybody knows what that is, it's kind of not as well known. It's very simple, typical Lovecraft. Two guys go down into a tomb, and then the story abruptly ends when something bad happens. But it was just like that sense of foreboding, that sense of dread. He nailed it in this tiny little short story that's kind of about nothing. So from there, I was kind of hooked, and I read all of his other stuff. And again, I never really got drawn into the whole Cthulhu and Great Old Ones. I liked all of his other stuff that were kind of weird and out there and bizarre. So I understand why he's been so influential in the world of horror these last 100 years.
Oh, very nice, Steph.
So I was always aware of Cthulhu, but when I first started to really love Lovecraft was Shadow over Innsmouth. I played in a D&D campaign that was loosely based off of that, and I just fell in love because it's just my aesthetic. You know, if you get like creepy seaside kind of piratey ghost, you know, sea creature vibes, I'm all in. That's what I want to write about. So that was when I really, really loved Lovecraft style for the first time. But I've always known about Cthulhu as a lifelong D&D player as well.
Yeah, it was definitely an influence there.
Absolutely.
Chuck.
Dude, it's funny because I actually have a good mixture of the two of them. Again, knew of him peripherally, and then got into a Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, and I freaking loved it. And it was weird because they had like an actual Victorian age map of London, and we're going through sewers and all this. It was so well done. It was insane. I loved it, and I love the idea of you don't win. You just try to go insane as slowly as possible. And I was like, oh, okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's life right there.
Right? Yeah, there's definitely a direct connection to real life, especially as we get older. Yeah. But yeah, man, that's how it is. And dude, I love a lot of that stuff. So yeah, man, big fan.
All right, cool. Mr. Fish.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about Lovecraft in the beginning, but I knew about everything that was inspired by it. Like, I'm a lifelong D&D player and role-playing game enthusiast, and like when things like Call of Cthulhu come out, like I'm checking out what's going on. And like I knew H.P. Lovecraft was like something about tentacles and madness or something, but like didn't get into it directly until very recently but like all the things that were inspired by it that it launched, you know, like from D&D to Hellboy to all those things, I loved all that stuff. I just didn't get into it until recently, and now recently I've started listening to audiobooks while I'm working, because like I can't watch TV shows, or I'm watching and I'm not drawing. So
Right.
I've started listening to audiobooks, and like I went back and like reread through the audiobooks like Frankenstein and all this stuff, and I've started putting in like all the Cthulhu stuff in there along with that. And it doesn't read as easily through the ears as like, you know, some of the other books. Like some of it I'm like, what the hell? And going back and going through it again.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
hmm Definitely has its own cadence. Travis, what do you?
See, I'm not sure what came first. My savvy rogue making out with a mind flare, or the role playing game. You know, the Call of Cthulhu role playing game. I remember playing that, but I also remember a late night AOL chat room discovering what Arkham Asylum was and how it connects on everything. You know, and doing a deep dive, and like some random guy on an LOH. Well, let me tell you about Arkham, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not sure which came first, the role-playing game or the AOL message about Arkham, and going the deep dive, and then Google searching H.P. Lovecraft and finding out he's in Boston. I'm like, what is going on? Like, the Maine's haunted because Stephen King says it. Now Boston's haunted. I'm stuck here in New Hampshire just trying to figure it out. We got What About Bob and Swan Lake, so that's not great.
Nice. Very nice. Jay, what are your thoughts on H.P. Lovecraft?
All right. Follow me for a second here, because I don't know. I think it was a movie with Peter Weller that had a deal where he was a private detective in like the 1990s, and it was in California, but 1920s California, where people had mansions. But I remember
Cast a Deadly Spell on HBO.
Was it HBO or Cinemax? I've never seen it again.
Now,
I've never even heard anybody
Peter,
speak about it.
now, is it? See, because I don't know. I'm terrible with actors' names. I'm very good. Is it the guy from? No, you're talking about. How about the guy from Remo Williams?
No. Not
that's
him.
That's Cast a Deadly Spell.
No, definitely not him. No, it was
But
Peter
sure?
Weller. Yeah, because it was Peter Weller. It was one of those weird California mansions, like from Death Becomes Her, you know, where they had that black marble floor,
Right.
and he was dealing with like otherworldly creatures that were coming from like another dimension kind of deal, and just huge tentacles. So it's like I'm the Cthulhu novice here. I really don't know much about it. Like I didn't even know. Well, that'll be part of my question later. But yeah, no, that was I think my first H.P. Lovecraft interaction, you know. Other than that, I like that last TV series that was on HBO for a little while.
Lovecraft County.
There we go, man. I thought that was a great series. You know, but again, I am the novice here, so I think that Peter Weller movie had Lovecraftian
Elements.
tendencies. Yeah, elements. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. For myself, like I guess I started reading when I was about 15, 16 years old. I got a book called like America's Greatest Horror Stories or something like that. And I think it had a couple of his stories in it, and I didn't know who it was. I was just running down the list, and I think Penguin had just started reprinting some of his stories in short books. And I started buying those, and then I just got into it, and it's just been ever since. I've just been hooked. So, and then Daphne, I should have brought it with me. She bought me a reprint of all of his all of his stories in one volume, and she gave me that for Christmas, and that was awesome. So, and I keep that one by my bed. So it's every now and again I'll just reach over, grab it, read a short, or I'll just start a story, and then have nightmares. So
Okay, so it starts nightmarish.
Some of it.
Okay.
I mean, it's cosmic horror. It's one of those things. It's the what can you do in the face of something you can't ever defeat? right?
Okay.
Well, and he cheats a lot. So he'll tell you this crazy story with all these details and everything. And then you get to the big bad guy and he's like, the horror is so undescribable that you'll never be able to describe it in human words. And then you're like, oh, that's cool. Thanks.
Right.
Thanks, bro.
Yep, definitely. All right, Jay, you're up.
All right. So as the novice of the group tonight, if you could categorize one of these three films as Lovecraftian or Cthulhu elemental, which one would be more it? Would it be that first Hellboy movie? Would it be In the Mouth of Madness, or would it be Lord of Illusions? Which one, for somebody who doesn't understand much of this, would be the one that best categorizes Lovecraftian or Cthulhu?
Interesting, Steph.
In the Mouth of Madness, absolutely. In fact, I believe that they were inspired by Lovecraft when they when the filmmakers made that. So that's my. I mean, I'm a huge Hellboy fan. Don't get me wrong, and you can see a little bit of a Lovecraft influence in like Abe and that kind of thing. But In the Mouth of Madness for sure was, if I remember correctly, as a film reviewer and somebody who writes about horror films a lot, I believe that they actually were inspired by Lovecraft when the writers wrote that film.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love lots of fish people.
There you go, Chuck. What do you think?
I mean, the only one of those movies, sadly, I've watched is Hellboy. So I would have to basically say, go with Steph.
If you get a chance, though, go watch In the Mouth of Madness. It's a really good movie.
It is.
No, it sounds good. Everyone's talking good about it. So, yeah.
Well, until you see the kid on the bicycle, that'll screw your head up.
That's such a great little tease, because they know, like, a kid on the bicycle is such like just a regular, right? It's just like a regular like image of a kid on a bicycle, and then I'll probably get there and be like, oh, Jay Rosario, that bastard! Holy crap, that's messed up. So yeah, no, I love that you did that, because yeah, right, because now you're gonna torture me, and I kind of like it.
Nice, Mr. Fish.
I gotta go with Chuck, mostly because I am so bad about remembering movie names. I wouldn't know if I saw the other two or not, besides Hellboy. Like Hellboy, I remember. All the other movies, I'm like, it's the one with that chick that was in that one thing, and the guy that has the ears.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? He's got the ears. He was in that thing where he had a stick. Like, that's how I remember movies. So, yeah, the names are useless for me. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. Frank, what are your thoughts?
I'm in the same boat as Chuck. I only know Hellboy.
So, wow.
I
He's
just
not
watched
the novice
Mouth of Madness.
here, right?
Good 90s. Good little 90s
You know what
stuff.
it is? I've seen tons of Lovecraft adaptations, and Lovecraft is one of those things where he's just everywhere. He has a cascading effect where he directly influences storytellers who then influence other storytellers. So even though somebody's never seen Lovecraft or read anything Lovecraft, it's kind of had like a trickle-down effect where it's spread out in little bits and pieces. He has his fingerprints all over the world of horror. So there's just so many different things that you can pick and choose. And even if the movie has nothing to do with Lovecraft or Cthulhu at all, there might be a single scene that's influenced by that idea. So it's just, it's very cool how he has his tendrils almost everywhere.
Gotcha.
Nice. Travis, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's got to be Mouth of Madness because it's directly connected to Mountain of Madness, which is H.P. Lovecraft, short story.
Okay.
Not to get all like technical and geeky, but I mean, it is probably the most collected because it is kind of a modern adaptation of that particular story. It's probably the closest of that. But if someone really wanted to get it, I would really get into Lovecraft country. Downey, you're not going to see the same like stuff, but I mean, I think that's really what it feels like to watch those things or to read those books, because it feels like one of those books. It feels like it's stuff. You don't know what's going on. You know it's all connected, and you get just enough answers to be satisfied, but enough. But you want to watch it one more time to make sure you got everything because there's stuff That's Lovecraft. That's everything he's ever written. It's good.
I like the Color Out of Space with Nick Cage. That's a
Oh,
wild story, and they really just did a good job making it feel like a fever dream. You know, which is basically what the story was going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
everything Nick Cage is kind of that. You know, it's kind of his thing.
That's his thing. Make it all weird.
When did that one come out?
Color Out of Space
That came
came out a couple years ago.
a couple years ago, yeah. Mhm.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's interesting.
It's interesting. You got to be a Lovecraft kind of guy. You got to know about it
Right.
before going into it. Otherwise, you'll
So
be like,
is it
"Fuck
an
that,
outer
let's go on."
space flick like Event Horizon? I mean,
That's
does
like
No,
watching a
no.
lead
So-
to Lovecraft or no?
The general premise of the Color Out of Space is that an asteroid has this weird color emanating from it that basically corrupts everything it touches and makes people go insane.
Yeah.
So that's the.
So- Yeah.
So it's
One movie, if you've ever seen Creepshow, there's a section where Stephen King plays the part of the farmer, right?
Okay.
I don't know if you ever, all right, where that scene you could tell is directly inspired by that story.
Gotcha.
That might be a little bit too much. All right, I know a little bit too much about this, but yeah, it would definitely be In the Mouth of Madness, Hellboy, and then what was the other one?
Lord of Illusion.
Lord of Illusion. Yeah, Clive Barker with Lord of Illusions. That would definitely be on the bottom of that list. Yeah,
Okay.
you know, yeah. You know, as a matter of fact, I think Event Horizon would have been higher than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though it was in space and it wasn't, I mean,
It's
not grounded by the
Being-
earthly.
No, Lovecraft is more than just a plot and characters. You know, it's an idea,
Right.
it's a concept, it's an atmosphere, and
Mhm.
absolutely, Event Horizon has a lot of those.
Okay.
But what's funny is it kind of crosses over with what Clive Barker was doing with some of the stuff he was doing. You know, with I guess the Cenobites and the weirdness. You know, with his worlds and that sort of thing.
But is that what Travis was saying? I mean, is it the horror that can't be explained that ties all those elements together? I mean, because you never get to see what the big bad is in any of those flicks, but in Lovecraftian stories, like Cthulhu is your Mephisto, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't really show up. He's sleeping. You know, if
Okay.
you actually read the stuff, he sleeps most of the time. He says minions that look very similar to him. He's sleeping, and if he ever awakes, we're all gone. We're all dead. He's sleeping at Lost City of Atlantis in deep slumber.
Yeah, it's weird because Cthulhu is, you can argue, great old ones, they're kaiju and all this, but they're not kaiju stories. You know, they don't show up in a city and start smashing things. So it's.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So he Surtur, right?
Who's what?
Surtur from Asgard, right?
No.
The great
No.
beast that when he comes
No,
about,
because
that's
no,
it. End of
'cause-
the world.
no, because here's the
No?
thing with Surtur. Surtur on a certain level cares about what's going on, right?
Okay.
Like he has a purpose, right? With Cthulhu and the other great old ones, they don't care about us. We're ants. You know, we're a speck. We're nothing. We're literally the dust mote that passes by as we walk to work. It means nothing. You know.
So was Lovecraft the one that defined the idea of Cthulhu, or he pulled it out of wherever obscurity and built it up to what everybody references today?
No,
He created Cthulhu.
He created it. I think he pulled from certain concepts of ancient gods and stuff,
Yes,
but it's an original creation that he made up.
Yeah, I would definitely say cosmic horror is his thing. That, you know, I think that's why so many people, you know, hang their hats on that. It's just like, you know, that's him. That's what he created, and that's what he gave us, right? You know.
My favorite thing about Lovecraft is that he died miserable, poor, and very sick, and yet he was like the most influential horror writer of the 20th century. Like he was just he was a miserable guy. He hated everybody. He didn't make any money during his life, and he died pretty young too. And
isn't that a great description of a writer?
yeah, and now all these people are making stories out of his creations, and he's remembered worldwide, and he was not happy.
Didn't Poe also come to a similar Didn't he die similarly? Poor, broke,
Yeah.
very
So
ill.
did Steve Ditko, right? I mean,
No, Steve Ditko, I think, had money.
I think
Really?
Poe
Yeah,
had
Ditko had money.
Poe might have had a lot of mental illness. I don't
Mhm.
think Lovecraft was as
I think-
mentally ill.
I think Lovecraft was jacked. I think he was. I mean, when I say jacked, I mean like I think he was really, really messed up. You know, I would think some of the things. I mean, I don't know how much you read the stuff. Some of the stuff of J.T. Tashi, some of the stuff he's written about him, and like you just read about the guy and about how insulated he was during his youth. I think he was really messed up.
I think he was just angry. He was just an angry person who life kind of crapped on a lot, and it twisted him a little bit too much.
But even when he started getting a little fame and he had his little writers group when he was creating stuff, he was very bossy and dictatorship,
Yeah,
as well as racist. You know,
he was a dick. He was definitely a dick.
Well, yeah. Listen, I mean, sometimes you just have to be, right? But Travis, you're up. What's your question?
So apparently I'm a host. I got no description. I didn't get like a notes of here's what I'm supposed to do. So I'm just gonna wing it.
wing it, baby.
I'm just gonna wing it. It's over. Thanks, guys. Please back the Kickstarter. We appreciate
There you go.
it.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Short night.
No, I think when you're talking about Cthulhu Invades Neverland, and a lot of these guys have been in Wonderland or Oz, what's the harder part of writing these for you guys is honoring these things from your past, like the fairy tales, the Disney tales of Neverland or Wonderland, of Oz not being Disney, but you get what I'm saying, or the Lovecraft horror, trying to figure out what elements, how deep you go in there. Because I think one of the things that makes this book special, and I think that the people who've been around for a while, they realize that this may be the only time, because we're in Indie Comics, to write iconic characters that are going to outlive us, right? Mm-hmm. Peter Pan is going to sell forever. Oz is going to sell forever. Wonderland is going to sell forever. Cthulhu is going to sell forever. We get to touch and play with that for just a minute. So what's the more intimidating between the two that you guys feel? So I guess we'll start with that. We'll start with Fish, because he hasn't actually got to do one yet. So just seeing which is more intimidating as I play it, so I can play that up.
Well, I have written and illustrated one story for another Cthulhu anthology.
Okay.
And it's very intimidating for me stepping into something like that has such an extended, beloved mythos to so many people that matters so much to them. And I have to write more stories in this series down the road, and coming up with other ways to approach it is difficult for me. The first one, I absolutely took the easy way out and dealt with the pop culture effect of it, and how many people love Cthulhu and don't know anything about it, and how many people hats and the buttons and the posters and stuff have never read a single story of Cthulhu. So I dealt with that aspect of it in my story. I'm intimidated about the other stories going forward, because I have to deal with it in a more serious manner going forward. And it's intimidating because you're dealing with something people love so much and are so invested in for so long. It would be like writing, something for Star Wars, just as many people are going to get mad about it as are going to be happy about it. And that's intimidating.
Good answer. Chuck?
For me, it's more intimidating to kind of find the Venn diagram where those two things connect. Mm-hmm. And so what is that, when those two circles, Cthulhu and Neverland, Wonderland, Oz, because I have been lucky enough to be on all three books, it's all about, seeing where they connect and kind of trying to play in that area and pull from that. I want someone to be able to be a fan of both of those and feel the connection to both of the original parts. So I would say that's the intimidating factor for me, is really just trying to make sure that you're not playing to one audience or the other, that you really have connected to both sides of the book.
Chuck, I love that little humble brag drop in there. Yes, I don't know, because I've been in it for all 3 books. So it's like,
He's already over it. I did want to answer Michael's question before I went to Steph. He said that there was a book that precedes Lovecraft's work called The King in Yellow. Yeah, anybody who loves Lovecraft knows The King in Yellow is basically in continuity. You know, we have it in every single volume of because King in Yellow is probably the most influential book that was inspired by Lovecraft in the Lovecraft universe that's not written by H.P. himself. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Oh, look at this, Frank. Travis can say he was in all 3 books, but you won't make fun of him. Dick move, Frank. I'm watching you.
nice try, Chuck. No, nice try. Nice try. Doesn't
sorry,
work.
Steph.
Doesn't work.
Speaking of people who are in all 3, hey, Steph.
Yeah, Matt and I are lucky to be in all 3 of these anthologies. And I feel like, surprisingly enough, if you were to give me all 3 properties, I probably was most excited about Alice in Wonderland. But Neverland was the easiest to write for us because Travis gave us a little bit of a prompt. And it was really nice because as soon as he said it, I'm like, I'm in. This is going to be awesome. And not to delve too much into our story right now, because I know we'll get to that later. But he said, one of the main things about Peter Pan is you've always known there's Lost Boys. And he said, I have this great thought for a lost girl. And I'm like, say no more, I'm in. Whatever we need to do. And once we started doing a little bit more research into the lore behind the Lost Boys and what it means to be a Lost Boy, it just the story almost wrote itself. So that was one of the great things about this particular story and doing a story for Neverland is I feel like we got a great little prompt and a great subject to write about that was a lot of fun, and we made it. It was very easy to work in the Cthulhu Lovecraftian twist to it.
That's good. And speaking of people who've only been in 1 book, JD, what's your answer to that question?
Well, I mean, I think it runs along with what Chuck said. Is just finding that Venn diagram where things can mesh between the 2, and finding where where there's a heart, where the heart crosses over between the 2 stories, right? Because there's always a thing about the mind of horror. Right, and I wrote about 2 Lost Boys, so I wanted to explore the camaraderie between these young boys, and them dealing with this horror. So that for me was just trying to find out, like, okay, how can we delve into that and get that into, like, into a few pages. So, but yeah, as far as that was pretty much what it was for me.
Nice. Well, I remember you coming up to me like I was the X-Men editor. So who can I have? Which X-Men are on my team? Right. I get.
I was like, what's available? Because I was like the last man picked. So I was just like, who's left? So I was like, but the thing is, those are the types of actually arenas that I like to deal in. I like to be at the end and say, okay, what's left over, right? Because it's like Neil Adams says, it's not the character, it's what you do with the character. God rest his soul. That was Neil Adams' thing. It's not the character, it's what you do with the character, right? Swamp Thing, for me, if you look at it on the surface, terrible. But look at what Alan Moore did with him, right? So it is all about what you do with the character.
Are you going to convince me that Kite Man is a good character pretty soon? Is that what you're saying?
Dude, oh my God. I got a story for Kite Man I want to do so freaking bad. I wish it's the only character in DC I would passionately want to work on is freaking Kite Man. I have got an idea for him that I love so freaking much.
I've never seen someone triggered so hard before.
I know, right?
Sorry about that, Fish. Frank, are you sure you could go? Because Fish may still need a minute.
Well, it's funny because I did come on the project late, and Travis was like, "You want to write a story with Peter Pan and Captain Hook, like the 2 most famous characters in Neverland?" And for me, it's not so much because I have these 2 iconic characters in my story. I didn't deal with Cthulhu all that much. He's more of an overarching presence, or the madness side of the story doesn't really invade in what I did. So it was basically I had to give Hook and Pan equal opportunity to drop their lines, express their characters. I did have one thing. I don't know if Travis wants me to talk about it because it's a little spoilerish. It's what Peter's doing at the beginning of the story. Is that a big deal?
Yeah.
So I needed to have Peter doing something a little horrific at the beginning. So I'm trying to think about what I could do, and thinking about the other Cthulhu books, which Travis accidentally left me out of. I decided to have Peter set Peter's having Peter. I'm going to talk right over that. Having Peter use dead pirates to make scarecrows, which is a little bit of a call. So it was fun to play around and doing something completely twisted and horrific in that light. And Peter actually drops the little line about Cthulhu remembering that. So fans of the series can. It's a little tiny callback to something I wasn't involved.
I appreciate that, Frank. Jay, I don't know if you've written any public domain characters, but is it intimidating? Will you write some public domain characters?
I don't know if I'll write public domain characters, but yeah, I think it would be intimidating, because people reading it would have a certain level of expectancy because of the character. They feel, they know it, or whatever, tribalism. And if you come at it from a different perspective, that's not canon, right? The whole thing that the new Spider-Man movie was making fun of, canon. But it's something just happened now that freaked me out. And Frank, your dog kept walking behind you.
It's like he's on a loop. It just keeps going.
Right? Dude, right?
He hasn't had a good day, okay?
It reminds me of that whole Mouth of Madness scene with the kid on the bike. Right? The dog was on the loop, man. And then you're talking about the whole, Peter Pan and stuff. And I'm like, oh, how do you do that with Hook? Right? Can you do that with the gator circling the boat or the croc circling the boat?
I'm just I'm a well of inspiration. What can I say?
Your dog is, you mean?
Yeah.
Hey, I trained her well. Okay.
You just cleaned up her throw up. I'm not sure you trained her that well.
Yeah, but,
mushrooms.
Here's the story. My wife made muffins. I forgot to throw the muffins away. I put them somewhere. They got moldy. I'm like, ew, these are disgusting. I threw them outside. Dog said, oh, look, wonderful muffins. And then she ate them and threw up. So my wife decided, yeah, you fed her moldy muffins. Time for you to deal with the consequences.
Wait. Yeah.
That's the story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Love and consequences.
Yeah.
And muffins.
Yeah.
And that will be my next comic coming out on Kickstarter in 2024. Like cleaning up my dog's moldy muffin vomit.
Listen, what is it? The Webtoon sells those lifestyle type of movies, right? Just every day you clean it up. Oh my God, that's another Mouth of Madness. Every day you clean up the same vomit.
It's not the character; it's what you do with them, right? The throwing up dog.
Yep. Travis,
Yeah.
answer your own question.
Yeah.
It has always been intimidating. In fact, that's the biggest part of these books that are the hardest is expectations and doing that. A little spoiler here, but we killed Alice in Wonderland. And I said, Chuck, do that because I don't want to get in trouble for it. If I can just throw him under the bus if things get but it was my call. Like I decided Alice needed to go. Making those calls are really tough. Betraying in the first Oz, Dorothy betrays, Oz, the kingdom, and that's crazy, and trying to write those things. And that's why I actually, in the first one, took that on me because I was like, if someone's going to get mad, I want them to be mad at me. So I'm going to write the Dorothy story. I'm going to take it. Once I realized I got to wait
him, he put it on Chuck.
Chuck and murder Alice. We'll see how far we can go. And that's why Frank is finally in this book because I needed another scapegoat. So I was like,
Perfect.
Better him than me. That's all.
Right.
But yeah, it's doing that every time we do these books. I have to do that. In fact, this one, the reason why Frank's in it, the reason why Fish is in it is I needed certain expectations met that weren't met in the stories provided. They're great stories, but we need a Peter Pan and Hook sword fight. We need to do that. So Frank, go ahead and do that. Here's what I need happening there. I realized the way we do these stories, we break out a character. Everyone gets a character. Well, I gave someone Tinkerbell, but Tinkerbell isn't in the whole other book. Nobody else used Tinkerbell in the flashback. There's a couple mentions and maybe a flashback, but it's Tinkerbell. Like Tinkerbell has more girls dressed as Tinkerbell than any Alice or Dorothy. You know, Tinkerbell is such an iconic character. She's probably more famous than Pan on some level. I mean, she's got her own Tinkerbell and the fairies. You know, she's got spin-offs, all sorts of stuff. So we really needed to build that up. I mean, just think about the people who play Pan versus Tinkerbell. Like Tinkerbell tends to be the higher actress. And then Pan a lot of these times. So yeah, those expectations really weigh on us, and we try to do the best we can. But I really always honor it, and I try to encourage in the groups and when I'm talking to the creators that this may be your one chance to write something of your childhood that you loved. So make sure you honor that one chance, right? You're probably never going to write Spider-Man. I love you. You're probably never going to do it. Myself included. We're probably never going to do it. But I can give you Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, Matt Hatter, you know, Dorothy Tin Man. You know, I can give you those and let you have your one shot of writing those in a book that people want to read and doing all that. So, yeah, I take it very seriously, and it's extremely intimidating every single time we do it. I've early on, I didn't this one, but the last two, I've had panic calls to Chuck. Are we doing this right? Or I'm worried about this or that to make sure it's right, because we want to honor the fans of this stuff because we love it. And I do all the research to make sure it's right and accurate and good.
I think fans have a certain expectation too, depending on the delivery of what the story is, right? If Disney does an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, they're going to think, okay, this is Disney doing Alice in Wonderland. They have to get it right. But if we're making an indie comic anthology where Cthulhu invades Wonderland or Neverland or wherever, they're not going to expect like Disney to put up the main characters on pedestals. They're going to expect us to break them down. They're going to expect us to do wild and crazy things. They're going to expect us to experiment and maybe throw a curveball at them that Disney's not going to do. So it's very cool that they give you a little bit of freedom to do things wild and crazy, because it's an indie comic anthology that we're launching on Kickstarter. You know, that's kind of the venue for stuff like this.
All right. Ooh, very nice, very nice. So let's bring this up.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Do you want me to play the video, Travis?
It's pretty basic. I wouldn't. It's just me selling the book. You know, I winged it on the video. I didn't make a cool ass video this time.
Okay.
Which is probably why we're not funded yet, to be honest. I should have made a cooler video.
All the video, absolutely.
Kickstarter says. But no.
Make a cool video. You sure you don't want me to play it?
You can if you want. It's just me.
Let's play it. I like playing the videos.
Hi, and welcome to the Cthulhu Invades. Can't even hear me. So excited to do this.
That's why I love this video so far.
Oh,
I love him. I love him.
Doctors raise $24,834. In 2022, we created Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, a great book, 872 backers, $47,775, and now we're back for the third time for Cthulhu Invades Neverland. We're going to have a lot of the same stuff that we've had. You know, we'll have our crazy good bookmarks. We're going to have the books. You're going to be able to buy the back trades, as well as this wonderful thing. We have 70 creators in this, but we have some big name creators. We have like Richard Jewett, we have Carl Moline, and then Cullen Bunn. If you're not aware of Cullen Bunn, you're not reading comics. We have amazing things that we're doing. We're even offering T-shirts for the first time. I'm excited that you're here. Please look at all the pledge levels. Let me know if you have any questions. Our goal is to make this as simple and amazing as possible. We love creating these books. We know that you guys love them too. It's our biggest campaigns every year. We really want you to take part of it. So I want to share a couple things on the Kickstarter that just to make sure you're aware of them, and a couple of the cool things that we're going to do.
So before I do that, I want to tell you the cool things we're going to do. So weekly, I'm going to have what's considered like a drop. So we're going to drop old stuff and put it in the campaign. So we'll have like the glow in the dark Cthulhu Invades Oz. We don't have a lot of these left. We'll throw a couple up there. It'll be very limited. There'll be an add-on menu. We'll have the Cthulhu Invades Wonderland box set. If you didn't get the box set the first time, you'll have a chance to get it now. Things like that we're going to be dropping. So make sure you're paying attention to this campaign from start to finish. We want to make sure you're part of it. Other things that's really cool. Let me show you. Here's the campaign. Again, we are launching. We are launched by the time you're watching this. We want to point out Ringo Awards. Let's go back up to that real quick. Ringo Awards right here. This is a
I told you, I'm winging it as we go.
2024 Ringo Awards. If you don't know about us, this is a great book to get. It was not honored by our peers, and hopefully we're going to win that. I'm going to scroll down through all this. We've got all the cool covers and all the creators and everything, but I want to show you some of the add-on menus that we've got, because this is all stuff that you can look at through the campaign, but I wanted to pay a little bit of attention to our add-on menu. So our add-on menus here, we have the bookmark sets that are there. We have the books that are available. As you see, we've already sold out of some. We also don't have the Cthulhu Invades as hardcovers at the campaign, but that is a stretch goal that we'd like to offer. We have T-shirts available, like I told you earlier. We also have this very cool set of villain bookmarks. Since this is kind of the end of the trilogy, we decided to make a bloody red Cthulhu Invades trilogy metal bookmark set. We also have our Orange Cone stuff. If you don't know about Orange Cone, we have tons of other books that you may want to check out. And as you see, we have a great track record of creating books. We have all this. We've actually done a third campaign this year that is in fulfillment at this time. But thank you for checking it out. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for joining us on another Cthulhu Invades adventure. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you for your support. Back below, if you have any questions, let me know.
Travis, I think we're done. You covered everything.
Yeah.
Good. Does anybody have any questions? I'll let you know.
You're right.
All right. So you're 77% funded. So, I think, what is it? We got 5 days?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's going to make it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. 350 backers, 500 backers, which I think you've already hit your 501.
Well, we hit it. We're gonna add a new digital reward to that probably after this live stream. I'll go ahead and do that. So that'll be really cool. I'll have another drop for some old stuff. I'm going to offer some of the old prints that people may be interested in. Release another box set for Wonderland. So we're going to do some really cool stuff.
Cool. Very nice. Very nice.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at those T-shirts. I didn't realize they were there. I just backed right away on the first day to get in early and didn't really look at anything else. I was like, all right, it's back.
So I wasn't paying attention. How did things go with the Ringos?
They just finished voting, but they won't tell us till September 3rd, 4th, something like that.
Baltimore.
Yeah, I will be in Baltimore though. My wife and I will be in Baltimore,
Nice.
and some of the team will be there to either cry when we go home or get our reward, whatever happens. I'm excited for either one. And these are all the places Cullen Budd has worked.
Has he worked the Red 5? I don't think he's worked the Red 5.
Red 5 Scout,
Marcosia.
Arctic Makosia, Zetascope, and Black Massa, though, and Bandabards are the ones he hasn't. But he will. Right. He just hasn't got them yet.
Yeah, he hasn't got around to them yet. Very nice. So who did the artwork on these 3 covers?
Okay. If you scroll a little bit further, I think you'll see the bigger versions. You can show the bigger ones, and I can go over them when you go at. So that is Etienne. I don't try to say his last name. Chuck, you want to give it a 10?
Derepentinier.
There you go. That's how you say it. He does our cover A's for all of our campaigns. Cover B was Angela Odling, she is fantastic. She does great stuff.
Nice. Yeah, that's funky. I like that.
And then Kyle Willis does this, and these are always special. So this is, if you look closely, see the little lines in there? He actually paints it on a book cover. So he puts it on a canvas and paints the whole thing. I can show you the Oz one live if you'd like to see it. I can pull it off the wall real quick. But it's really cool what he does.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, if you
And
want
then we
to pull
have
it
all
up for
the
me.
which already sold out like day one at the con, right? Right, Steph? Is that what the message from Matt meant? Is it sold out day one at the con?
Oh yeah. Anytime that we have any of these books on our table, they are usually the first to go. I mean, it's insane. People walk past and they see Cthulhu and they zero in. Yeah. And the great thing about these anthologies is the titles literally sell themselves because it doesn't get any more self-explanatory than Cthulhu Invades Oz and Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, and now Cthulhu Invades Neverland. Most people are going to know that are familiar with Cthulhu and those other titles or those other properties are going to know exactly what that means. They may not know the extent of it, and that's where we come in to kind of explain that there's an overarching theme, and then there's stories that kind of go in between it. But we sell these things out like crazy. When I did Free Comic Book Day here in my hometown, those were the first things to go. They just went like crazy, and it doesn't matter. I mean, you've got the alternate covers and the glow in the dark covers. People want to read these stories. That's what it comes down to.
Very nice. Cool. Now you said you had over 70 creators.
Yeah, it's actually 80. I just did the math the other day. It's 81. 81.
Wow. What was it like wrangling that many cats?
Believe it or not, it was really easy this time. I have a really good team of people so normally every time we get rid of 75, we keep 75% and then we add another 25% to kind of replace it, to add some new blood. And it's nothing that anybody does wrong or anything. It's just, we need new blood to fill this, so we figure it out. So I really only had to deal with, because they've done this twice, they really didn't need me. So they would just ask if they needed something, Steph was like, hey, we don't have a colorist for this. Can you give us colors? Cool. Let me give you a couple options. And that's all I had to do is to manage us. So whatever.
Really easy. Seamless.
Yeah, it was really good this time because everyone knows the way I work. And which is such a blessing, by the way, because this year I got into the direct market with Granite State Punk and Coins of Judas, and I didn't know, I was over my head. I didn't know what to do. I know how to run Kickstarters, but I don't know how to do that. So it was really good that they could pick up the ball and take care of things and answer questions for me if I didn't reply quickly. So I have the best team.
Very nice. Cool. I'm just running through some of these sections real quick.
Yeah, yours right there. We got to stop there. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty bird.
How do you pronounce his last name?
Calnis. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I loved what he did. It was really, really nice. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Carl Malone.
I mean, I think we leveled up crazy on the art wise this time. I mean, our art is by far the best of the series. Every one it gets better. We've got better stuff and we've got better names. Not to mock any of our Kickstarter people, but we've got people like Richard Dueck and Colin Bunn. We've got some pros and some people who are a little bit above us, if you consider the direct market, that are coming to hang out with us and do this stuff, which is really cool. And that's both on the art side and on the writing side.
Pat Shand.
Yeah, now Patrick Brumeyer, he's pretty good. I like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's looking funky. I like that.
That's why I hired him from Granite State Punk. That's my dude.
Nice.
I am a little scared to give him to Pat Shand, though. I'm hoping I can get him back.
He's an artist. You can loan him out for a while.
So, Pirates. By the way, Mr. Fish, just to let you know, I've had 2 people say, I bought this book because of that bloody pan. So you've been selling the book, good sir.
You're welcome. Oh,
Nice.
When you told me about the story and stuff, I got so excited and I went nuts on that piece. Man.
Oh, it's on my agenda for Monday. You may get it tomorrow.
Good.
Tomorrow or Tuesday. Yeah.
Good. I am anxious.
Would that make it your 69th book that you'll be in? Because that would be nice.
Yeah.
If I get it done. Nice.
69.
So
Sorry.
So
I just watched Bill and Ted's today.
how far in the production is done? As far
Everybody's
as
there is 8 pages that need to be done. The ones that I need to give to Fish,
Mhm.
and we've got the 2 by Stan Yak. Stan Yak has until the 15th to do it, so he'll get it done in the next couple of days. That's it. We normally have the full thing, but sometimes we add stories later.
Right.
The Stan Yak being one, Fishley's being another one, and Fish's the only we always do that last is because once I get all the stories, I have to tell the ending, and I need that based off of everybody's art and everybody's stuff. We are in the lettering phase right now. We'll be done before the end of the year. The only reason why we have it extended out is to give the editors and proofers a little breathing room. We tend to like say, hey, you got to get it done in like 30, which has really been too much for them. It's been a little rough in years past. And the second thing is, there is a Neverland is public domain, but there is a play. So the first work of Peter Pan was in a play, and though that would be in public domain, the play gives money to charity, which keeps it in public domain a little bit longer. But that ends December 2023. So we're going to wait until then to get the people the book, because I don't want to mess up and like maybe have accidentally used one of those and skimmed past it or made a mistake. It's just easier when we're talking about like an extra month to just wait for everybody's safety, because I want more than to pull this book back somehow or have to do something. So it's just a month to wait, no big deal.
Gotcha. Very nice.
But we may do the digital before then. I'll have to see what the laws are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was only still like that in Britain or in the UK.
No, it's only in America, actually. Everybody else, it's
Really?
done. It's America,
okay.
because America playwrights took from the original London playhouses, so they used old rules. England, because plays are so more regal over there, they've changed their laws. The United States are still under the old laws. I feel like we're talking about religion here.
Sure, for some. I hear you bloody.
Yeah, I'm really proud of those. Yeah, we wanted to give something back to the people who've been in all 3, so we did these red bookmarks to kind of give something back.
Nice.
And then I've done a few books here and there, so
just one or two.
Just one or two. Some of them are even good. I won't tell you which ones though. You gotta buy them.
You gotta buy them all to find out.
Step on that landmine yourself.
Holy shit.
So I'm wondering, is there going to be another big book signing for this one? Because I would love to get to hang out with everybody.
There is a book sign. We always do the book signing. You're more than welcome to come. However, if you ask Chuck, it's not very financial. Even though he tried to make it very financially possible, it's not. It's kind of like a at your own risk type of thing. But we bring you down. We'll tell you the date, and you're more than welcome to come to Florida and do it.
We're in Florida.
We do Melbourne, which is about 45 minutes from Orlando. JD, you may come down because you do the Disney trip so frequently.
yeah, that would be the thing. It'd be like, okay, you got a day.
Yeah, we give you a date.
Yeah, says you got a day.
You're gonna be in Florida. I'll go do that. I mean, I'd have gone up north too, but.
Well, and we normally will try to get a signing in or two. Like we'll try to get signings that weekend and stuff like that. But it's not great. We try to do it, and we really want to do one. I don't know what it is. Maybe Steph can put some enlightenment on this. Like I tried to do one in California, like unrelated to us. Like here, let me give you some books and let's get it. We get some of those signed. But I guess there's a lot of drama in the comic stores. And like, if you do a big event at one, you're not welcome to do another. So you got to be careful, like for the bigger stores in like probably the LA area. So I was just like, I don't know. That seems too difficult to me. I just can't.
Which is tough because a lot of the California, I mean, I'm Central California, but a lot of the other California creators are in Southern California. But I think maybe if we move out of those, the main LA area and move it further south, then we might be able to, because I think there's a lot of stores that would probably.
So hold on a second. I'm sorry. Can you define this a little bit more for me? So store A, if you do a launch event at store A, you can't have a signing event tomorrow at store B, even though there's like, I don't know, 50, maybe 100 miles between them.
Correct. Yeah, they're very
That's
competitive.
petty bullshit, dude.
That's petty.
And there's
That's
certain
really fucking
people who
petty.
can't go to certain stores because they allied with certain. It's like, and we see that in the con, right? In the con thing, like if you're loyal to this con, you're not welcome at blah 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 blah. But I've never seen it with stores. But that's what I heard when I made the call, and I called 2 different people, one on each side, and they were just like, "Well, we can do it, but blah 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 can't go because of this." And then I went to the other side. Well, I can't go to this because of blah 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 blah, and then we can't do this. I was like, cool, I'm just going to stay in Florida. We could just.
There is a little bit of a difference, and it is odd as a California creator who is back and forth between California and Florida a lot because that's where Matt is Florida. And I have to say, I do kind of notice it even in my area a little bit. So I just kind of assumed that's always how it was. It's just kind of a weird, you've got beef with one or the other, but I don't think it's that way everywhere in the state. But I would love to see a West Coast one. Oddly enough, as funny as it is, it'd probably be easier for me to make Florida one than it would be California one. But I would still love to see one here on the West Coast, if it can happen. But yeah, it's totally out of Travis's hands. It's just beefing comic shops, I guess.
That's like a comic book shop saying, "Well, I'm not going to buy your book because it was on Kickstarter, funded by 100 people, divided across the whole nation." Because all 100 of those people shop at my particular fucking store. Stupid. Just stupid.
Yeah, well, I don't want to misquote, but what I think happened, Jay, and I don't want to misquote, but I think they were all owned by like 4 partners, like the original store that was big, and then the 4 all have individual stores now, so they all hate each other. I don't remember the exact details. I'm sure someone would correct me if they're in, but it's something along those lines. That's probably not exactly right, but it's like 4 people came together, formed one store, and now they all have 4 different stores, and they hate each other.
I can understand that, but still at the same time, they're keeping money out of your mouth.
Right.
They're keeping, their customers, they're denying them a possibility because who knows if they could travel to any of the other stores.
Mm-hmm.
No, my wife loves California. She lived in California for many years. She really wants to do a signing out in California. It's just when we tried to get it last year, it just didn't work. We could only get half the creators at one store and half the other. I was like, do we need to do a motel and like do a mini con for just Cthulhu? Like, what are we gonna do?
That'd actually be really cool.
So, Steph, your book here.
Yes.
What are we looking at?
Gosh. I didn't even see it. I didn't even notice it. I've been staring at it this whole time. I'm like, oh, wait, that's our book. So we have a Kickstarter launching on the 28th of this month. This is, as you can see right there, this is our spin-off series from a main title that we do called Heirs with Steel Door, which is our steampunk time travel series. In that series, it's about a watchmaker that lives in a puritanical steampunk village. And we like to say it's time travel in reverse. Instead of him traveling to other times and eras, he is inadvertently opening portals that bring other people from other times and eras to him. One of those is Keto. And Keto is what we like to say, what they're under the impression of is that he's a samurai type. And we don't get too much further into his background. And we thought it would be really cool because he's such an interesting, compelling character. He's got a little bit of that anime style to him. And so we're doing a one-shot graphic novel that's all about where he came from and his story and his backstory. We say it's fictional Far East because it has touches of inspiration from Japan and other Far East eras, but it's its own thing. We're not basing it off of any real life geographical area. So it's fictional Far East. It's fantasy, horror, one-shot graphic novel all about Keto, his twin brother Kinji, and sort of the strife that goes on within their kingdom and its ultimate downfall, which is what brings him through the portal into Heirs of Isildur world. So we are going to have anybody that knows this knows we do crazy Kickstarters. We always have some fun things in store. We're gonna do the socks. We're gonna do. There is going to be a lyric video. Matt is a musician. He's been working really hard on creating the lyric video for this campaign. And it's got those Far East touches. And of course, it's going to be metal because what else would we do? But we're really excited about it. We would love for you to bookmark and follow this campaign. Again, it starts on the 28th of this month. It is tinyurl.com/Heirs facebook.com/I am Keto. And keto, as you see, is spelled QIDO. That is the Far East spelling of that. So we're really excited about it, and we would love for you guys to support it and check it out.
Very nice, very nice. Are you
It has
running?
nothing to do with the diet, which is very disappointing.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not keto diet. Well, maybe they do kind of grow their own food, and it is a little keto inspired. So I guess in a roundabout way, maybe.
Cool. Now, you said it's a graphic novel. How many pages is it going to be? 96.
It's going to be up there. We're still, we like to include as much as we can as far as the story itself, and then any extras and additional things. So it's going to be over 80. We'll say that that's the safe bet right now. We're going to have a lot of really amazing covers. We're going to have several different covers to offer from some incredible artists. Alessandro Ventura is our main artist for this title, and he is killing it. And it's fun because he's our artist for Heirs now as well. But you can tell that this is really his vibe, and he's been it's fun when you have an artist that will message you and say, hey, you asked for this in this panel, but I really feel like it, if you did it this way, it could really be more compelling. And a lot of times we're like, yeah, we're good with that. He's right. He's the artist, he can kind of visually, know how that's going to go a little bit better than we might sometimes. And so it's come together really well. So yes, it is going to be over 80 pages is what I will say, because numbers are not my thing. And it's going to be hefty, but it's going to have some really rich, beautiful art and lore and storytelling to it.
Nice. Now, just a quick question, because I know you're partners with Matt, and you guys have been working as a team together for a minute. Now, how do you break down the I guess the writing chores? Like, who does what? Like, who starts? Who finishes?
It's different every time, and it's funny. The way that I like to describe it is it's like any TV show that you hear about where you have a writer's room. Normally, there's not just one writer for a TV show. You have a room of writers who are all sitting in the room together, and they are throwing ideas back and forth, and eventually you come up with the final product. And so for us, we're on video chat every day. We've got Google Sheets and Google Docs up, and typically we start with just a sandbox of ideas. And if anybody were to look at it, it'd probably look like a mess, but to us, it makes sense. And we just sort of go from there. And, one day it might be, with the 3-hour time difference, I'm 3 hours earlier in California. So by the time we might be able to convene together for the day, Matt's been up and alert and able to, put in some writing way before I have. But that's when we kind of get together and we go over it and we say, is this going to work? Before we move on to the next section of it, we have to break it down into sections. And a lot of times, and I think this is true for any writer, not just if you're writing as a co-writing team, you get the artwork back and you already have the lettering down and kind of how you think the dialogue's going to go. And then you look at the art and you go, you know what, it would be, this dialogue or what's happening between these characters isn't going to work as much now that we see how the art is. And so we'll go back and kind of tweak the dialogue a little bit. And sometimes it's me going, this doesn't really work. Or sometimes it's him going, you know what, I think we need to change this just slightly. And so it's very different for each title that we do. We have an all ages title that we work on as well called Misfits Clubhouse. That's through Scout Comics. And that very much is a collaborative thing because it's all ages. It's fun. It's silly. That is much easier to just kind of bounce ideas back and forth off of each other and come up with the final product as you're writing it. This is much more in depth. This is a heavy story. A lot of character development in a short amount of time, relatively. So yeah, it's kind of different every time. It's just this year has been tough for me. So Matt has done a lot of the heavy lifting with this story because I've had some cognitive things that have been going on. But that's what we do. We're a team. We're a business, and we're to the point now where that's okay. We trust the other one to put in the heavy lifting when the other one can't.
All right, cool. Looking forward to it. It's going to be, I know for a fact it's going to be awesome. It's always awesome.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. We're really excited about this, and we can't wait to see what people think about it.
All right. So you said August 28th?
Yes, August 28th. We will be pitching the heck out of this online, but again, it's there. The where you can follow it is right there in front of you.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. And this, I believe I put this in the show notes, so you can get that from there.
Yes.
Way to be.
All right. Cool. I got one more of these. These damn creators, they come on this show and they just think, they can just give me anything to throw.
Some
up on the
people's
screen.
Children.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. Anyway, Jay, what are we looking at?
Yeah, boy. You're gonna have priests, demons, treachery, boobs, monsters, backstabbing, and continuing the tale of a limbo, open almost all eternity, when a former priest inherits the throne of hell. He doesn't know what he's doing. So what do? You go and you have a couple drinks, and while he's doing that, all hell is literally falling apart around him. So continuing from what we had last issue, he is going to be collecting the souls that he has not collected since he started the job. And as he's making the rounds, he sees how bad things really are. So we got 24-page full color issues 1 and 2. They are done. We're just looking for the dough to print up issue number 2. Stretch goals will be consisting of unyet published black and white books of upcoming Unstoppable Comics buttons, trading cards, premium covers, and we launch this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So come hang out with us. The stream will be in the body of the Kickstarter itself. We'll be having some drinks, giving away a couple of gifts also to people that back us on that night.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Okay. Looks good. I mean, I'll be there. That's all I have to say.
Hanging, baby. We're hanging.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We got
anybody else want to come through? That's cool too. It's BYOB. No, just fell. It dropped dead. It
would be better if it wasn't BYOB. Like you would Uber people beer. Like, what's your address real quick? Put it in private chat. We'll get you taken care of.
Dude, let me know who's coming. I got no problems doing that.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great now.
Anybody want to get down? What are you drinking? I'll send you guys anything but IPAs. Get that shit out of my face.
You're good. You're a man of my heart.
We're good.
Unsweet tea.
Sweet tea. All right, that's cool.
Unsweet. Gotta try and cut this.
Yeah, Michael, I'm glad you got
down.
it, buddy. I tossed a little bit of extra in there for you. I hope you liked it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, so look, let's get back to brass tacks, as they say. So listen, like I said, I want to keep it HP Lovecraft. So, what is your favorite HP Lovecraft story? Right. So where we at? Chuck.
It's funny that you start with me because I haven't really read a lot of his stuff. I've more like researched it and gone through it. Mm-hmm. So really for me, it's just been all the stuff that I've been able to pick up from everybody else who's worked on it and enjoyed it and the stories that they tell. One of them that I really got excited about actually, because it ended up being my first published writing gig, was I did a short story about the god Bakrug. And it's really interesting. He's a god that sleeps under a lake. And one side worships him, the other side doesn't believe in him and whatnot. And so while he sleeps, the one side basically destroys the heretics, the people that believe in Bakrug. And of course, that awakens him and angers him. And so I really loved that idea and decided to kind of tell it in my own way when I did my little short. So yeah, that was one that I really enjoyed and really appreciated a lot.
Okay, cool, fair enough. Steph.
I mentioned it earlier, but it's absolutely Shadow over Innsmouth. That's my jam. It has kind of a little bit of the fog vibe, like Carpenter. It's this sleepy little village, and it's this the seaside kind of creepy sea monster, sea creature, fish people vibe is just my thing. So I've always loved that. When I played the D&D campaign, I just fell in love with it and kind of did a deep dive into Lovecraft. So that's absolutely that's my favorite.
Fair enough. Frank?
Oh, like I said, I'm not a Cthulhu Mythos guy. I bounce around his other stuff. So I mentioned Statement of Randolph Carter. I like Chiller from Beyond. Whole bunch of other stuff that are just creepy. Rats in the Walls, I think it's called.
Yes.
And
That's a good one.
he's got another one. What's it called? It's got a long title about Arthur something or another, where he finds out the relatives of his family are all monkeys or something. It's just weird stuff. Like all of these obscure Lovecraft stuff that are not as popular as Cthulhu. He does a wonderful job in all of them. He's I don't know how many stories has he written? Like 100?
It's funny. I've never looked that up, but yeah, it's probably somewhere in that area.
How many stories has H.P. Lovecraft written?
4.
Come on, Google. So, what you got for me? What's the over/under?
76.
I was going to say 72. That's funny. Nice.
Nice, Chuck.
I thought it was 83.
I was literally going to say 84.
Damn.
This
What
is
do you
not
have,
giving me a good answer. I got 61 in one answer, and another answer says 128. So
That's quite a difference. Literally
It's-
twice as much in one.
So look, if you balance it out, it's 100.
Yeah, right?
Take
Which is
Yeah,
what
the
I was
average.
going to guess.
So
H.P.
you take an
Lovecraft
average.
has published 133 books.
Wow.
Nobody knows. That's the weird thing. He's just a weirdo.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
But then he's got
So
stories
this-
that's like that are Dagon. It's like one paragraph long.
True. Right, because there's some that are just like poems or whatever. He's doing weird stuff. Mr. Fish, what's your favorite story?
I don't really have a particular favorite one out of the ones that I've been listening to so far, though I absolutely am going to go check out that one Steph mentioned because, I love fish people for obvious reasons. And that's next on my list to try and listen to probably tomorrow.
Okay. Fair enough. Mr. Gibb.
It'd probably be either Cats of Uthar, the classic Call of Cthulhu. You've got to get that, and then I can't believe that nobody said Dunwich Horror. Like that's
Yeah, that one's great too. Absolutely.
that's the shit. That's the one.
All right. Jay.
We got the donut coming over here, baby.
Hellboy.
Hellboy. No, I mean, I really like the Lovecraft Country series, but reading, I got nothing. I got nothing. Ungats.
Fair enough. For myself is Dream Quest of the Unknown Kadath. That's one of my favorites. And In the Mountains of Madness. Those are my two favorites.
Okay.
Those are the ones that those are all right, Jay, it's all yours. Go for it.
All right, I got it. People are always talking about, there's too many superhero stories, right? And it's there's a saturation point, and we're overloaded. Do you think Cthulhu is there, getting there, nowhere near that saturation point?
Interesting.
I mean, because it's public domain, right? There was a point where everybody was doing a Black Terror type story and incorporating into their stuff, right? So, do you think we're anywhere near that oversaturation point for Cthulhu?
Okay, fair enough. I think we're back to you, Steph.
It's funny because I've seen a lot of people, heard a lot of people say, it's another Cthulhu book, but I really don't think there's as much as people believe there to be, especially in comics. There's really only, a handful that are tackling Lovecraft and Cthulhu. D&D and role-playing games and tabletop gaming, it's really heavy into that, but it's selling and it's really popular. So and maybe I'm biased because I really love Cthulhu and the old ones and Lovecraft stories, but I don't think it's there yet. Superhero stories have been, it's different because it's permeating a lot more properties, it's movies, and it's, you know, TV shows, and it's everything else. And Cthulhu is just kind of finding its way into comics, into board gaming, and that type of thing. So I don't think so, not at all. And if you see how successful these Kickstarters are and how well these books sell, I don't think people are getting tired of it anytime soon.
Okay.
All right, cool. Frank, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking no. And this goes back to, there's the Cthulhu mythos, which is direct connection. And then there's Lovecraft-inspired things that are Cthulhu-esque, but not necessarily connected to that storyline, that don't use his name. For instance, I did a book called Pipe Creepers, which was basically plumbers, but it was heavily Lovecraft-influenced. It had giant monsters and fish cult people, but it doesn't drop any of those names that people know. I didn't really use it in the marketing. It's not part of the story, but it's heavily influenced by that spirit and that atmosphere. So I think, yes, even if it does reach a point where Cthulhu himself is saturated and people are fed up with him, I don't think people are ever going to be fed up with those types of stories. You know, the crazy giant tentacle monsters and people being driven insane. Those are always going to exist in horror. You're just too built into the foundation at this point. And so even if the name fades, the spirit will live on.
All right, fair enough. Mr. Fish, what are you thinking?
I think to some of us that are like heavily invested in like the indie comics world, I could see how they might feel like there's a lot of it because, like, you know, like we know Travis and see the book and all this stuff. But I think for the world as a whole, not anywhere near saturation point. Because, like, you know, as much as we love our jobs and our indie comics and stuff, like, we're only reaching a small part of the population with these books. Like, it's, you know, it's not like they're Marvel movies or something that are coming out every couple of months with another, oh, there's another Cthulhu blockbuster, you know. Like, it's not at that point. Like, when it gets to that point, I could see everybody being sick of it and be like, look, I want something new. But, you know, I think we've got a long way to play and have fun before we get to that point.
Okay. Fair enough. Chuck.
Yeah, I think it's done and it's time to find something new. Can you imagine? No. Right? Everyone's like, wait, what? No. Yeah. No, not at all.
I love it.
Right? Screw it. Let's do something else. Nah, man.
Kickstarter done. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Like you kind of can't say stuff like that. But I don't feel that way, anyways. I don't feel that way about necessarily superhero comics either. It's that there has been so much of it that you have to find your unique vision of what that is. And that's what I like, is seeing people's take on Cthulhu, seeing people's take on different superheroes and stuff. You know, if you're just going to play with the same stuff that everyone else has played with before and do it in the same way, then yeah, certainly it's going to feel tired. But so far, everybody really seems to respect where it came from, but they're excited to where they can take it. And I think that is a really healthy attitude, and that is going to allow cosmic horror and Lovecraftian mythology to go all over the place. So yeah, I don't think it's near saturation.
All right, fair enough. Travis, what are your thoughts?
I think it's oversaturated, but so is it Spider-Man, and you're still going to buy Spider-Man, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I do think there's a lot in the genre that you can get for it, but I would say for the average Cthulhu fan, they don't think about Cthulhu every day, right? Cthulhu is something that they stumble across, which makes it special. And when they stumble across it, they love this thing. I mean, I'm doing an ad right now on Facebook, and a lot of people are backing from that ad, but so many people are leaving comments. Oh my God, this is awesome. This is great. So people love to stumble upon it. And as Steph and Chuck can attest to, when people see it at the con and they stumble upon it, it's a grab. So I do think there's an oversaturation to it. But all that means is we just got to tell it in new, unique ways. I think this is one of those ways to do. I don't think we need another rendition there, because there's people, I can tell you of 7 Kickstarter creators who are recreating either in modern from the book directly or redoing every Lovecraft tale. You know, there's one right now for Rat in the Walls. I'm not saying it's even bad or good that are recreating that. I think those things are probably overdone, like getting adaptations. I think those are kind of bored. But if you're taking that in a new element in a new way, you could do it. I mean, and look at the board game genre. I mean, there is so many. There's Arkham Horror. There's Call of Cthulhu. There's Mountain of Madness. There's all of these. Cthulhu's Dead. Cthulhu Lives. Like there's all these games in that field. So people love this. People are inspired by this. So I don't think. I do think it's oversaturated, but not to the point that it affects anyone's real sales.
Okay.
I would. Do I feel it's oversaturated? I really don't feel it's oversaturated because I mean, it's, is it any more oversaturated? Is the market any more oversaturated with, mirror superhero comics, right? Is the industry any more saturated with, bad girl comics, right? I mean, there's room for all of it. That's the way I look at it. If you enjoy it, that's what you enjoy. You're going to try to find, whenever I see over the years before Kickstarter, right? We had Hellboy, we had something called The Hammer, right? We had a few other things. There was a smattering of these books that were H.P. Lovecraft or Cthulhu mythos inspired, right? So I would go out there and I'd always look for them, right? And I was always excited by seeing them. If it looks good, I'm going to buy into it. I recently purchased, I backed some campaign with H.P. Lovecraft, something or another. The book wasn't all that great, but it happens. But I'm willing to take a punt on it every now and again. And I'm always excited though to see it because it's it's something I enjoy and I want to see other people, their interpretations, of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely a fan, and it's definitely something I like to look into. So how about you, Jay? Do you feel it's oversaturated?
I don't know because it's not what I'm going to it's not my primary purchase. It's not something that triggers me like, oh, I can't wait to have it. I see it around, but I don't see it in all the other elements, right? I don't see it in a lot of other transmedia elements as well, right? I don't see it in or you guys were talking about board games. I don't see it in video games. I don't see it in movies. I don't really see it in TV. So, like what Fish was saying, it to the average person, no, but within the community, maybe, right? If you can make money on it, fucking go for it. That's all I can say.
There you go. All right, cool. Travis, you got another question?
Yes. Why do people send me emails and messages when I'm on live streams? Do you guys know, or do you guys actively send them out to make me look bad? Like, what is happening with that? No, sorry. My email's blowing up, all sorts of stuff.
Don't take shots at me in public. Okay.
Only one of them was you, man. Like I got so many emails. I won't tell you the details, but I literally have a guy who's targeting my next project who believes that I made that project to make fun of them, and I don't know who they are. So I'm like, I'm positive I didn't do that because I didn't know you existed. And the worst part, it's not. So I'll even say what it is. We have a book called Hospice coming out September 5th. It's very cool. We have 6 of them. The name of the hospice, the fictional hospice thing, is called Rising Suns Hospice. There's a comic company called Rising Sun Comics, and they're like, "Are you making fun of us? Are you saying we're dying?" No, I just randomly named a company inside it's not even on the cover, dude. Like, chill. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and do you take everything this personal? Because there's a lot of House of the Rising Sun. Like, there's a lot of things that say that. Do you send them all emails and say, hey, that song really hurt my sensibility?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I know that when he turns on the radio, he hears, there is a house in New Orleans. He's like, no, there isn't. No, there isn't.
I'm already writing a cease and desist. Right? Yeah. If your book even has an F-I-S and an H in the same page, I'm sending you a cease and desist.
Yeah,
right. So you know. So spell accordingly.
One fish, 2 fish. No, none. I'm the only fish.
No, there is one.
Screw you, Zeus.
That's
We're
it.
gonna go 90s. We're gonna start smelling
Oldfish,
fish.
crayfish?
FYSSH.
So yeah, let's go. We're going. Jay took it to a negative level. About whether or not we're oversaturated. So I guess I'm gonna go. Are anthologies on Kickstarter oversaturated? As we've noticed, there has been a trending of them underperforming if they don't have key elements. Are anthologies as a cool thing you can get on Kickstarter kind of going the way of the dodo?
Interesting.
Which I still think dodos are cool, so I never understood that analogy, but whatever.
Well, they all got eaten, so.
Let's start with Frank, because he's not paying attention and I see his dog's butt.
Anthologies oversaturated. You know what? It's hard to gauge because I don't create anthologies and I don't necessarily purchase them. So I'm not the target market and I'm not the distributor. So I don't.
Quick follow-up question then. Was your first book Modern Testament, not an anthology?
That was years ago. Okay, move on, baby. It's the present. You know what? I don't think so. I mean, how many anthologies are trying to fund right now on Kickstarter? Off the top of your head, I can't think of
know
that many.
at least 10. I'm
Yeah,
sure
never mind then.
Yeah,
I
I'm sure there's
retract
more
the
than that.
question. I don't know. I don't really have an answer to that question.
Now I got to find out that answer.
Mhm.
Fish.
I love anthologies, and I am the target market because I've always enjoyed them. Like from heavy metal, set it in my head that anthologies rock because there's always, like, I might not like this story or I might not like that art, but there's always going to be something that rocks that I absolutely love in it. And that's why I love anthologies and I always invest in them. But I do think in indie comics, in Kickstarter realm, perhaps it's the same problem as it is with a lot of comics, is like, because it's never been easier to make a comic than it is now and to put it on Kickstarter and get it funded and get it printed. There's a whole lot of not so good comics out there that aren't very good quality, and trying to stand out among a sea of mediocre stuff can be tough. Like, that was my struggle in the beginning at all, just to get people to see my stuff in the sea of garbage and realize, hey, that's not so bad. And so I have backed a lot of anthologies that aren't that great that I won't come back for the next copy of. Man, there are some out there that I just absolutely love that I'm going to come back every time. So I don't think it's oversaturated, but I think, like all comics, there's a lot of not so good stuff out there to weed through.
All right. Chuck?
I mean, kind of, but I think a lot of it is just that there's not a lot of strong themes that people are using. So like there's a lot of like very weak theme ideas where they're just like, yeah, okay, it's the end of the world. What's your end of the world story? And you're like, okay, like that's almost, I mean, you're basically saying like a post-apocalyptic or whatever. Like, we need a little bit more than that. We need something that people can get excited about, like Cthulhu and Oz. Those are things that people can get excited about. Cthulhu and Neverland, excited about. You need stronger themes, and I think just when you do something like there was a lot back in the day, and I know that there's certain comic companies, even ones that I've worked for and been a part of, that do like a space anthology or a horror anthology, and that's fine. That's what your company does, and they've done well by it. Then you've created your audience for it. But I think just Joe Random going, I want to do a space anthology. Good luck, man. Like, unless you've got some real people who can really like excite people and whatnot, we've seen a lot of it. And so give us something we haven't seen, or give us something we can really get excited about.
Okay. Cool. Steph, I'll give you the edge on this one. There's 16 currently live. Go ahead.
I love anthologies. Well, it's different for as creators. I feel like they're our bread and butter. It's important to be a part of an anthology and have it on your table. And the way that I always like to pitch anthologies is because you might have somebody that is interested in reading something that you have. And they come to your table and they see that you have a long series, or in our case, really long graphic novels. And they may not have the time for that. So I like to tell people anthologies are great because they're varied stories. You're going to have some that are dramatic. You're going to have some that might be funny. They run the gamut, and it's all different artwork. So if you just have 10, 15 minutes to sit down and read something really quickly, anthologies are what you're going to want to do. You're going to pick it up. You can read a story or two and go about your day. And you might read one story that's funny. You might read one story that is more dramatic. So I don't think it's necessarily that it's oversaturated. There's a lot of them because they work and they sell really well. And I do believe that there's a difference in the two. And like Chuck said, yeah, it does need to be a compelling subject, because if you're just doing another space anthology, well, there's a lot of those out there. And so that's why it's really nice to be a part of something like Cthulhu Invades, because those are two things that when someone walks up to the table or somebody hears about it or stumbles upon the Kickstarter page, they're going to go, that's a really cool concept. I never would have thought of that. So I think that there's a distinction there. There are a lot of anthologies out there. So you just got to make sure that if you're going to do one, that it can set itself apart from the sea of, Into the World, apocalypse anthologies, or horror anthologies, or space anthologies.
Zombies.
Zombies, yeah, exactly. Yeah, not that those don't have great stories in them. I don't want anyone to get mad that might be watching, because there are a lot of anthologies out there that have great stories. I've been a part of horror anthologies, so I can't say much either, But it just depends on, this. You gotta set yourself apart a little bit.
Nice.
Nice. All right. Jay.
Yeah. Oversaturated? No. Watered down? Yeah. Yeah. It's a great vehicle for new creators to cut their teeth, but sometimes people run an anthology, have too many new creators, filling pages, and those who have put their best foot forward to support that, maybe you've gotten tired of getting watered down product and just backing down a little bit.
Yeah. I just got one, and 80% of it that I just backed on Kickstarter, 80% of it's unreadable. I can't read the text. It's too small or handwritten or too squiggly to try and be dramatic. And the artwork is just almost scribbles in some of it. And I think they were probably going for scary or whatever, but I couldn't make out most of the book. And so I didn't even bother fighting after that.
Fish, we've read a few anthologies where it was only set up so the person who was creating the anthology could get their work published on somebody else's time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's unfortunate, right? But that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm. JD.
Well, when I first started on Kickstarter, I guess I was buying several anthologies, but it's funny because I started getting tired of them, right? Yeah. Because there is such a mix of what you're going to get. You get some good short stories, you get some bad ones, so on and so forth. You can expect that mix. So, for the most part, I've just been focusing on individual creators creating longer works. And that's usually the sort of things that I enjoy. And that's what I'm sticking with. As far as it being oversaturated, it's kind of like Jay said with his other answers, I don't pay attention to it that much. So, if the sales are still there and, people are still buying them, no. But if they see their sales declining, then there might be an issue, But I think a lot of it has to do, will boil down to quality. If you're putting out a product that, people aren't going to be able to read or not going to enjoy in the end, that's an issue. That's a serious issue. Mm-hmm. Yep. Travis, answer your own question.
The garbage, all of them except for Cthulhu Invades Neverland.
That's fair.
Wouldn't recommend any of them. They're all smart and
there may be 16 on Kickstarter. There's only one worth backing.
One in our heart.
I think anthologies are hard because I think they have a place. I think they're super important for people to cut their teeth and learn. I think that's where most creators get their core group of people who they're with. Because you had to go ride or die for 30 days and you had to do a year probably to create the book to become connected with that group. And I think that needs to happen. That's one of the only thing that's lasted from the, back when we used to do just cons and had no Kickstarter to now. that still works, right? Those anthologies, you had to make them, you had to find guys in a message board, go to digital webbing, make your anthology, and all sell that book, right? I think that's gone on. But the negative of anthologies right now is, I think, one, there's too it's too easy to get into them. I think that like everyone will take anybody, and I think that there needs to be a little bit of vetting in that process. And two, I think that the anthologies, if they don't have a purpose or speaking, either like in our case, we're telling a story just using the anthology medium to tell that story. So even though it is an anthology, I kind of feel it's a little different. And then I think we need charity anthologies. I think those are always going to be important. The ones for, that are speaking to either fundraising for a charity or speaking directly to marginalized groups, like LGBT or, or a war in Ukraine or any of these things that need stuff. But I think those other anthologies, I think that they're not really working like that. You just putting out a horror anthology, unless you've got a lot of big names to like carry that beginning, it's not going to work. You just got like, a comedy, or this is about squirrels, that stuff just isn't working. And I got to tell you, the last like 10 or so I bought, the minute I get to a store I don't like, I throw the whole thing aside, and I hate that because it's that way. And that's one of the reasons why we do Cthulhu the way we do it is, so if you get to something you don't like, if you want to finish the story, you got to keep reading. You got to just deal with it and go to the next story, because when you're talking about anthologies, it's all different art styles, and art is the most subjective thing that you can get.
True enough.
Travis just pooped on my squirrel anthology I'm planning. Squirrel populations are dying out, Travis, and I was going to do an anthology to raise squirrel awareness, and I'm not going to do it now.
Yeah, there's no more red squirrels in New York at all.
Right.
Squirrel awareness is really hard to say, by the way. You should say
right.
it.
Just give me a second. Chuck's phone is dying on him. So Chuck, if you gotta go, you gotta go, brother. Let us know where we can find your work before you go, though. Oh, he's all sideways. Look at him.
I think he's gone.
Chuck,
I think he might be gone.
Literally
all
sideways.
Right.
Take care, Chuck.
Take it easy, Chuck. It was good having you, brother. And in the show notes, you can find links leading you to Chuck. Look, Sam, we've been talking about Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft and all this stuff, throughout the business, throughout the entire show. Normally, this show is about the business of comics. So I want to revert back to that for this question. And here's one I think, reflects on everybody here, right? Like, we've all been doing comics. We've been doing comics for a while. And here's something for like new creators. Like if you had a new creator coming up to you, say, hey, man, what should I be doing? Do you feel that new creators should be focusing on long-term or short-term projects, right? Like, so, 3 to 4 issue stories or even longer form stories. And should even guys or people like us who have been in the business for a while, should we be focusing on longer term stories or shorter term stories? And, why, what's the difference for you, right? So let's, Mr. I don't know who I went to last. All right, let's start with Fish, right in the middle.
If I was talking to a new creator that's just getting started and, wanting to figure out what to do, my absolute first advice would be start investing in yourself and your own stuff, because like I got lucky and got into the indie comics biz about the same time as some friends of mine. And they were working on their own stuff, and I was doing everybody else's stuff because that paid the bills today. Like, if JD pays me today to do his book, I can pay my bills today and keep a roof over the kid's head and keep my kids fed. That's much easier than working for free for myself this month and hope it pays off 2 months down the road when the book sells. So I would take everybody else's money. And I've seen those people that got started at the same time as me that have managed to build a big following, and they're bringing in the kind of numbers on their Kickstarters that I wish I was bringing in on mine. But I'm starting over now, like 5 years later, starting to build my own fan base instead of helping other people build theirs. So that would be my number one is start investing in yourself. And 2, it would be flexible. I would absolutely shoot for something that you could do, like make the book that you hope you can do for 300 issues and it's a success, but don't be absolutely tied into that. Shoot for like a 4-story arc, that you can complete and get done. And if nobody's buying it after 4 issues, then you can cut your losses and pivot and go on to the next story, and you got to be okay with that, because not every idea is going to be a success. But like, start out on one that you can hopefully go forever, but not something that you're so invested in that it's going to break your heart if it dies at issue 3 and nobody wants to buy it in, because you just, you don't know. And lots of people, like we said, will come in for the first issue and realize it wasn't my cup of tea, so they won't come back for the second or the third. And that's part of the deal too. But yeah, I would shoot for like 3 or 4 issues, because I think the other big problem in indie comics with small guys is we have such big ideas and everybody wants to do this gigantic interconnected Marvel universe kind of thing. And I came up with 1,000 characters and only 2 of them really have backstories and stuff. But I have 1,000 characters and I want to show them all off and I want to show how deep this universe is. And that Marvel universe was built by hundreds of creators over decades, putting out, dozens of books every month over and over again. It was not done by one person working out of their spare room. And like, it kills me how many people have been making comics for like 10 years. And you've got the first issue of Spider Guy, and you got the first issue of Bat Dude, and you got the first issue of Wonder Gal, and you've never gone back and done a second issue of any of them. Like, you started all these stories, you launched all these ships, and then you just forgot about them and went on to the next one. And if you're never going to complete a story, why do I want to follow you on this next journey if it's not going to go anywhere? Like, I would focus on trying to tell that one story well. If you get 3 or 4 issues of it out and it dies, okay, you learned your lesson. Move on to Bat Guy now, and let's do that one. But focus on one and try and tell it as well as you can. Learn from it, and hopefully it takes off and you get 200 issues. But if not, you can move on to the next one.
All right, cool. Steph, what are your thoughts?
Long-term series are really difficult, and making comics in and of itself is really difficult. I think everyone can attest to that. But a lot of what Fish said, I agree with. You can't, and I always say, and it's funny because I had to learn this the hard way because I tried to do this too as a new creator. You can't start off trying to do your magnum opus. I tried to write I did write a graphic novel script that was like 108 pages. And then I realized I needed to kind of go back a little bit and just do some short anthology stories, which is what had got me into the industry. But it's really difficult to do. And we go to these cons and you meet these creators that are brand new and they're hungry and they're really excited about this title. And it's like Fish said, it's this huge multiverse with 1,000 characters, and they've planned out 25 issues. And you just kind of are going, okay, you need to kind of pull back in a little bit, because that's really hard to sell if it's the first thing you've ever written, and to grab people and pull them in to want to commit to something that's that long term, because people are going to have to invest in you and the story that you're writing. And if they have to invest in 25 issues right off the bat, that's a hard sell. Usually you need to get people to do that after you've proven that your worth as a creator. Mm-hmm. So maybe not start with your 30 issue series. Maybe start with one shot, or a few, like maybe 3. 3 is a good 3 issue story. 3 to 5 issue story arc. It tends to be kind of the sweet spot a lot of times. Doesn't mean that that's right or wrong every single time, but I think if you kind of pull back a little bit, as a new creator, you're going to be able to get people to invest in you. Because even we, with 11 issue series, and you get people to come up to the table and they're like, I don't have time for that. I don't, I just want to read something, I just want to be done. 3 issues is great, because then I get the story and then I can move on. So I would say, as a new creator, you want to be really, really careful with trying to do too much at once, and you're going to burn yourself out by doing that as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Fair enough. Frank, what are your thoughts?
I got nothing to add. They kind of nailed it. I hit the same kind of issue. I wrote a 6-issue series. I was super pumped about it. I had an artist, and it fell apart because trying to do a 6-issue series as your first thing is not a great idea. So yeah, you have to go back to basics. I did short stories. I did one-shots and 2-parters. I think there's pros and cons to both of those things. I've done a lot of one-shots, so I have like a lot of books, and I say, look what all I did. But it's very hard to build momentum campaign after campaign when you're constantly shifting gears. So there is a benefit to doing the same series, and you put a lot into it, and it's quality, and you build a 3 to 5 issue story arc, and you can see that campaign gaining momentum, or that series gaining momentum with the fan base every single time. So at the end of the day, you have to tell stories that you enjoy telling. Yes, if you want to do your big thing, you need to start out small and build your confidence in your fan base. But if it's going to be 3 to 5 issues or 1 to 2 issues, as long as you're passionate about it and you have a strong feeling about it that can resonate with readers, just go for it. But yeah, you should definitely stay small before you try to hit the long ball.
All right. Now, before we move on, real quick, Frank, what was what was that linchpin that caused that 6-issue series, caused you so much difficulty with it? What was the issue?
I think I had an artist. We had a contract that we were going to work together. And
Right.
I think after he finished a couple of pages after the first issue, he's like, I think he didn't realize how big of a commitment it was going to be. And he said, I'm going to be married to this thing for a very long time, and just didn't want to do that. He didn't realize it which is understandable, because I wasn't an established creator. He didn't have a whole lot of trust in me. And you don't want to have a relationship like that and push it to completion, because if it's going to fall apart, you would rather it fall apart in the beginning than in the end.
Oh, yeah.
So it was everything is a learning process. So I was kind of glad it happened, because now I can tell other people how much I screwed up.
Well, listen, I mean, like you said, there's a silver lining in it, right? You learn something, you got to do a bunch of other books. So, and once you do enough of them, one day you can go back and maybe do that 6-issue limited series.
It's still sitting on my computer. I haven't forgot about it.
All right, there you go. Exactly. You never know. It might happen. Travis.
I disagree with everyone.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. Like, I look at my career, and I did a bunch of 4-issue miniseries. That's kind of my thing. Let's do miniseries. Let's try to pitch them off. Let me show you that I can play. But I look at my peers, Rob Altari, or I look at a Charlie Stickney, who's just like, I'm going to stick to doing this thing and build that fan base. I wish I could do that. So if I was going to advise one, I would be like, find your one thing. Take whatever time you need to find that one thing that you can stick to. You can do spinoffs, all that, finish one series, but then keep doing that. Because I look at anybody who I love in the comic industry, and I love a lot of weird people. You ask Terry Moore, he was going to do Strangers in Paradise. He didn't give a shit if people were reading it, right? Ask Jeff Bone, same thing. Ask Hellboy. All these people had times where people weren't reading their book and they didn't give a shit. And then one day the industry was like, who the fuck is this guy with 7 volumes of a comic book? I'm gonna have to hire him because he just won't stop. David Lapan from Stray Bullets, all these things. So I think you should, if you have it in you, should stick to it and do it. I feel that I would be further in my career if I would have just stuck to one thing, which is hard because I started out with crime, which is the worst selling one. But I think there's value in showing that you're going to stick to something and then you have stuff. I think you can do other things, and I think you should do other things. But if you have one that you can keep going and keep building on, at some point, no one can ignore that it was successful. When you're at 12 volumes, regardless of the sales, dude, you did 12 volumes of a thing and put it out to a world, and all you need is a smaller percentage of fans, right? That smaller percentage, they have 12 volumes to buy to catch up. So you're good. You don't need to just pay that one trade that you have. They either like it or don't. Well, here's 12 volumes. If you get that one person to like it, you got 11 other things to sell.
Very nice. Jay?
I'm gonna go the opposite of Travis. Let's stick more with Steph and Fish we're talking about. Because I want to go smaller. Forget about the burnout, that freak out moment, right? We've been doing this for a while. That freak out moment of when you figure out the logistics of everything you have to do to keep the ball rolling, you're gonna be like, holy shit, right? And that'll scare you a hell of a lot quicker than the burnout would. So you gotta worry about that. But yeah, I also want to talk about with ice cream. Eventually you're gonna get tired of vanilla. You'll come back to vanilla, right? But today you're gonna want to try chocolate. Tomorrow you're gonna want to try strawberry. Maybe later on down the road you have Neapolitan and get it all in one bite. Yeah, you'll come back to it eventually. But try other things. Expand your creativity, right? Try to challenge yourself with a horror story. Try to challenge yourself with a cosmic horror story like Cthulhu, and learn how you can develop different tricks and tactics that you could bring back to your core story. So that way, when you come back to it, you'll be better at it.
Fair enough. Very good. I like that, Jay. I don't expect that from you. Thank you.
Every once in a while,
But yeah, listen, I write super long-term stories, right? The Oswald Chronicles, Tall Tales. I've just been, these things take Tall Tales. I'm 36 issues in. Oswald, I'm like 1,800 pages into it, and probably another 1,800 pages to go. I would always advise start small, start with 1 or 2 issues, and then build from there. When you hit that story that you feel you need to tell, that bigger story, break it up into small chunks, break it into smaller stories, smaller arcs, and then try to put them out that way. Because trust me, it'll be much easier. And, going back to Frank's problem, try to find an artist that you can work with long term, because that's not easy. I lucked out with my artist. She was just been putting up with me for the last 12 years. That's all I can say. It's like it's all on her. She's she's a saint. That's all
you can take her out of the basement and let her see the sun every once in a while, bro.
Well, she lives in Chile. She can do whatever she wants. Daphne's the one with the room upstairs. I'm the one in the basement. So yes.
Yes.
All right. So there we go, folks. Thank you. We hit our 2 hours. This was pretty awesome. Before we go, please, Steph, I know you got to go, but please let us know where they can find you and your work.
So InstinctureCreations.com is our main website. That's where you can find all of the titles that we've done. And we are on Twitter let me see if I can remember all of this right, because it's always like slightly different for each one. We're In Symmetry Creations on Facebook. Twitter's at InSim Creations. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, if you're just jumping on now and you didn't hear, I Am Keto is our next Kickstarter that launches the 28th of this month. And that is, you can bookmark the page. You can follow the campaign now, tinyurl.com/I Am Keto, QIDO.
There you go. Mr. Fish, where can they find you and your work, sir?
I am Mr. Fish Comics everywhere on all the social medias. You can buy most all of my books on my TikTok shop right now at Mr. Fish Comics. And also, I've got a Patreon going where you can sign up like a subscription service and get all the books that I work on sent straight to you, or get digital copies or whatever. Like, I've already sent out issues of the Cro-Magnon. When it got done, the source book is supposed to be delivered tomorrow, hopefully, and that'll go out as this month's book to my physical backers, and 2 will go out next month. And it's the quickest way to get them early, because I'm going to cut back to only doing a couple of Kickstarters a year and let everybody catch up that didn't get it on Patreon or on TikTok. And that way I can just do like 2 or 3 and have 4 or 5, 6 books on there and not have to stop and spend a month pitching a Kickstarter, because that takes a lot out of me, being a disabled artist and all.
Gosh. All right, cool. Frank, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Frank the Writer, at Frank the Writer. That's my social media and website, franktherwriter.com. So I'm easy.
Nice.
All right. Cool. Mr. Gibb, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Only for the next 5 days, please find me at CthulhuInvades.com. I don't want you to find me anywhere else. Don't look for me. I'm busy. I'm doing other things. Find me there for the next $7,000, please. Thank you. But if you really, really need to get in touch with me, travisgibb.substack.com.
All right, cool. Mr. Rosario?
UnstoppableComics.com. All roads for me lead to Unstoppable Comics. You can find all of my social media links at UnstoppableComics.com.
All right, cool. You can find me here just about every Sunday, Facebook, Twitter, and all those other places on the JD Calderon and the OswaldChronicles.com or TotalsOnline.com. And I'll be launching my Kickstarter sometime next week. As soon as it's approved, I'm just going to approve it because I don't care. That's just how I roll. Right, so thank you so much, guys. All of you were awesome, and just remember, everybody, buy more indie comics, especially ours. All the links are in the show notes. Go pick yourself up. Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, and listen, or Neverland. Excuse me. Well, get Neverland, get Wonderland, and get ours too. Get them all.
Yeah, get them all.
Damn it. Get them all.
Get
They're
them
up
all.
there. Go get them all. So thank you so much, everybody. You guys are awesome. Have a great night. Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.